If you thought our current teams were crazy, just wait until you see this. Hear me out, because the way we play this game is about to get completely turned on its head. We need to talk about what is coming next, because the newest leaks are going to absolutely blow your mind. We just got our hands on the fully leaked pre-release kit for Chaos, and let me tell you, there is a massive amount of theory crafting to unpack here. He is officially slated as the Phase 2 character dropping globally on June 24th. Save up to 21% on your NTE top-ups using Loot Bar. It's a really trusted marketplace for cheaper top-ups. For example, the 6,480 Rift Crystal pack costs just $77.10 on Loot Bar, while in-game it will run you about $100. So you're saving almost $23 right away. How it works is that after the purchase, you'll be directed into a cloud emulation tool where you'll log into the game as if you were on your mobile device. Then select the pack you bought, and the product will be delivered instantly as if you bought it yourself in-game. Then any trace of your login is deleted. It's a quick and easy process, and one I've personally used myself a few times. A lot of players use Loot Bar with hundreds of thousands of purchases. Use my link down below and start saving today. Okay, let's break this down together. I want to totally flip how we usually look at these characters. So instead of just reading off his stats, let's talk about his gameplay loop first. Because Chaos doesn't play like anybody else we currently have. Forget just mashing buttons on the ground. Chaos brings a highly aggressive, high-mobility playstyle that is incredibly unique among the current NTE roster. His entire movement and positioning are completely shaped around an aerial, plunge-heavy combat style. Every single time you perform a plunge attack with him, he crashes down to deal AoE damage right on impact. But more importantly, each of these plunges grants him 20 points toward his core mechanic, a 100-point resource gauge known as Accusation. Plunging is your primary way to generate this resource, meaning you are going to be constantly taking to the skies, dropping down on enemies, and building up this gauge. It creates an incredibly satisfying rhythm that is far from your straightforward, brain-dead DPS playstyle. He actually asks you to execute a specific active rotation, and he heavily rewards you for mastering it. So, what do you do with all that accusation you are building up? Think of this gauge like charging up the ultimate fighting game heavy attack. Once you have built up your accusation points, you simply hold down your attack button to unleash what is called his final verdict. This is a massive, heavy thrust attack that consumes your accusation points to deal incredible damage. According to the leaked numbers, this hits for a base of 312% of his ATK, but the crazy part is that it gets an additional 2.5% scaling for every single accusation point you consume. This scaling is huge because it means every plunge attack you do translates directly into making your final verdict hit like an absolute truck. When he isn't plunging, his basic attack is a fast 4-hit combo. Interestingly, the third hit of this combo triggers a special effect called Overturn, but Chaos doesn't fight alone. He has a skill that acts like the ultimate tag team maneuver. Instead of Chaos himself dashing into danger, he deploys his loyal hound companion to dash forward, deal damage, and slap a nasty debuff onto the enemy called the Remora State. This skill operates on a 15-second cooldown. The Remora State is essentially a ticking time bomb. When this debuff finally expires on the enemy, it detonates for a massive chunk of significant damage. This introduces a brilliant timing element to your gameplay. You want to perfectly manage when that Remora detonation goes off so you get the absolute maximum value out of it. To push the damage ceiling even higher, Chaos has a self-buff mechanic called Warrant. When Warrant is active, it straight up increases all of his outgoing damage. If you happen to have Warrant active right when you trigger his Hound skill, that skill damage gets an even bigger additional bonus. Keeping this Warrant buff up is a massive part of your overall rotation management. Now, let's talk about the main event. His ultimate is his defining moment, and it completely flips the script on your damage output. It costs 125 energy to cast and operates on a 20-second cooldown. Upon activation, it unleashes a colossal AoE blast leaked at a staggering 584% ATK damage. But the explosion is just the beginning. Activating his ultimate throws Chaos into a special stance called the Dread Echo State, which lasts for 12 seconds. During this 12-second window, Chaos basically goes Super Saiyan. First, his basic attacks become completely infused with his element. Second, he gets a flat 35% damage bonus stacked on top of everything else. And finally, the most important part, the rate at which he generates his accusation resource is straight up doubled. This 12-second window is his absolute peak performance. Your entire goal is to build up to this Dread Echo State, let your Hound apply the Remora debuff, and then go absolutely crazy with plunge attacks. Because your accusation generation is doubled, you can rapidly dump out fully charged final verdict thrusts way more frequently than normal. It is in his adrenaline-pumping, execution-demanding loop. Oh, and for my exploration junkies, Chaos is going to be your new best friend in the open world. His hound comes with some incredibly well-documented utility, specifically featuring fog and teleport mechanics, that the community is already praising as a massive quality-of-life addition. So, with a kit this wild, is he the undeniable king of the game? Well, here's where we need an honest discussion about the current state of our accounts. Chaos is a Luxana element DPS. The Luxana element itself is incredibly mechanically valid. It powers the Remora reaction when paired with Cosmos, and it can even trigger a massive charged triple reaction if you combine it with both Cosmos and Anima. Chaos's own kit directly ties into this identity since his hound applies the Remora state. The catch? The current player roster around the Luxana element is still being built. Right now, there simply aren't many strong Luxana-aligned teammates available to deeply synergize with him. Think of Chaos like buying a beautiful investment property in a brand new neighborhood. He is amazing, but he is currently limited by the fact that we are still waiting for his best supporting cast to be released. As more Luxana characters arrive, his team's damage ceiling will inevitably skyrocket. Let's compare him to the current heavyweight champion of Phase 1, Lacrimosa. If we look at the community consensus from CN players who have had their hands on her for weeks, Lacrimosa is currently sitting in a stronger spot for this specific stage of the game. She has a much smoother, more forgiving playstyle with her dual stances, acting as a brilliant dote and burst hybrid. More importantly, she already has incredibly established team synergies, especially when paired with Daffodil for those juicy Discord reactions. She provides wildly consistent damage in both single-target and AoE situations, making her one of the absolute strongest limited DPS options for patch 1.1. And then there is the looming threat on the horizon, Shinku. Shinku is dropping in patch 1.2 Phase 1. Based on current unconfirmed leaked data, the community expectation is actually favoring Shinku as the stronger, higher priority investment. She is projected to have a much higher ceilings and significantly better synergy right out of the gate, particularly with the CSU2 faction alongside characters like Mint and Iroy. However, keep in mind that Shinku's kit is still unconfirmed and will likely go through beta balance changes before she officially drops. So, let's get down to the real question. Should you spend your hard-earned pulls on Chaos? Here's my honest playbook. Pull him if you absolutely love high mobility, aggressive plunge-heavy combat. If his edgy yin-yang dual form, sword energy, and awesome hound companion speak to you, that is a perfectly legitimate reason to pull. Pull him if you already snagged Lacrimosa and you want a totally different flavor for your second team composition. Or pull him if you are totally comfortable investing in a character whose true potential will unlock later as more Luxana supports get added. But you might want to save if you are F2P or a low spender strictly looking for the best immediate return on your investment. If your current roster is already clearing content comfortably, waiting for the Shinku and Iroy package in patch 1.2 might give you a much more complete and synergistic team right out of the box. Your pity situation also matters heavily. If you built up a lot of pity during 1.1 and can grab Chaos without breaking the bank, he looks a lot more attractive. But if you are starting from scratch, you really need to weigh that against the hefty investments 1.2 is going to require. CN players are already approaching his release window since they run roughly a week ahead, getting him on June 17th. We will be getting our hands on him globally on June 24th. He is an incredibly cool character with a totally unique identity in an element that is just waiting to explode. If you pull him, you aren't making a mistake. You just might need to be a little patient while his perfect teammates arrive. I cannot wait to see what kind of crazy plunge attack montages the community creates with him. Who are you planning to pair him with while we wait for more Luxana supports? Let me know down in the comments. I would absolutely love to read your team ideas. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one.